Thank you, everyone. Hello. So, thank you, everyone who has joined. We'll be going live in a few minutes from now. Uh, as we set up the studio here back. I don't know if everyone can hear me. Just put a thumbs up. Hello. Hello. So, welcome, guys, to today's session. We will be talking about building your technical writing portfolio. For today's session, we have an expert here, Bravin. Bravin has been talking about his journey, how he has been able to make lots of cash in dollars and other currencies from writing the docs or building some technical writing documentation. So, he'll be taking us through this webinar for today. I'll give Bravin a chance to introduce himself.
Hello guys, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, so I'm happy for you having me in this session. My name is Bravin Wasike. I'm a freelance technical writer and I'm also a DevOps engineer. So I work for freelance writing for different companies, mostly US and UK. In the field of, I specialize in the field of DevOps. So I write about DevOps tools and practices. And I also do some DevOps engineering for some company as a part-time developer. So that's my niche. And I'll be guiding you through this session on how you can build a portfolio around your tech field. Because mostly we'll be talking about the tech field, even though technical writing is a huge field. We'll be talking on the field of tech fields and how you can build a portfolio around it. So when I'm given the chance to start, I'll go ahead and share more information. So back to the moderator or facilitator.
Thank you, Bravin. Uh, Also on today's session, we have Hilary, who is also a technical writer. He's been an open source technical writer for a moment. He has done some good job in documenting. I'll give Hilary a chance to introduce himself. So thank you, Larry. So a brief history about the Docs Kenya. So we are a community whereby we talk about writing. We mainly talk about documentation and writing. We intend to help people to start their journey in technical writing. Also, we intend to help people start their journey in technical writing through various means. Example is this the webinar we're having today. We also have few other events coming up. For example, we are planning to have our first physical meetup. We are planning to have our first meetup, physical meetup at KCA University in the few coming months ahead. And yeah, we'll be looking forward to see you there. So that is basically what the docs is all about. Uh, for now, I'll have to invite Bravin so that he can take us through today's session without wasting. more time. So, Bravin, you can take over.
Okay, thank you once again for giving me the time. So for today's session, the agenda of the session is can you hear me? Am I still?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so let me continue. So for the agenda for today's session is how to build a technical writing portfolio as a developer and stand out, because portfolio plays a very crucial role when you want to land a tech gig or a technical writing gig as either, even if you're a beginner or an intermediate technical writer, you need to have a portfolio that stands out and shows the best of your work. So a technical writing portfolio will enable you to differentiate yourself in the job market, because there are a lot of writers out there who also want to break into the field of technical writing. So I can present my screen. I hope, can you see my screen? See my screen. So this is the agenda of this meeting. So the agenda of this meeting is categorized into three. We are going to discuss the importance of a strong portfolio, how to select content as a technical writer, how to present your best work or presentation best practices, and also the importance of a technical writing portfolio in the job market. So you can see here on the importance of a strong portfolio. So
Hello,
I can
hello,
start.
Bravin.
Yes.
Just a moment.
Moment.
Hello, Bravin. You can try presenting it on the Google Meet platform rather than on StreamYard.
So that at least we have all of us have a copy of what we'll cover in this brief session about building a portfolio around technical writing. So I'll present again, so you can acknowledge if you can see my screen. Okay, so the agenda of the meeting is we're going to discuss the importance of a strong portfolio, content selection strategies, presentation best practices, and also importance in the job market. So I won't necessarily follow this agenda to the point, but I'll be sharing tips as I feel they are best suited, so at least everybody needs gets the all the required information to start building a portfolio or optimize their portfolio so that they can become a standout technical writer. So as I know, maybe most of you are in a tech field. No matter your tech field, even if it is front end development, mobile or DevOps. So for me, I'm a DevOps technical writer. So I've built my portfolio around DevOps, and that is what I usually use when applying for gigs. And I've also done a couple projects for DevOps, so that automatically adds more information or more knowledge to my portfolio so that I can now become a standout. So I can take a scenario, for example, you are a beginner, maybe front-end web developer, and you want to break into technical writing, because technical writing also you can use it as a side income in your field, and as you learn and grow in your tech field. So technical writing and tech in general complement each other, because the projects that you have implemented in your tech field, for example, web development, you have implemented a form, or you have implemented or you have learned about CSS, maybe box model. So that project that you have implemented, you can automatically turn into an article. So that article should be a very detailed a very detailed overview of what uh, of what you need, or of what a very detailed step of what you've covered in the entire project. It should be like a reflection of what you have done in the project. So that's why we're in the when the first agenda, importance of a strong portfolio. So a portfolio should be able to showcase all your work. For example, as I've mentioned, maybe you are a front end and you have implemented a couple of projects. You can automatically turn them into article ideas and start writing about them. So I can also talk about writing in a bit. So for writing, we have like, for a technical writing process, we have steps that every technical writer should follow, that has a standard, that is a standard way of coming up with an article, because most of these companies, if a portfolio is your work, you're filling a portfolio, you should always the best practice when writing articles and
Hello,
citing your.
hello, Bravin. We're having a challenge with your mic. I don't know if there's something in a skuma skuma kidogo. Just but now you're clear.
Now I'm clear.
Yeah.
So as I was in the step where you can you need like to have the steps for you to come up with a portfolio. So I usually share 5 steps with my mentees on how to start a technical writing portfolio. So I will share the 5 steps with you. The steps are not in this brief slide or presentation guide, but I'll just share. So the first step is you need a prerequisite or tech background. So because we are talking about technical writing specifically in the tech background. So the first step, you need to have a prerequisite or a tech background. So it doesn't matter your tech background. You can become, as I've mentioned, it is a diverse field. You can be in Android, in web dev, DevOps. So the first step is to have a tech background. So that is the first step. The second step is to identify the different types of technical writing documents, because we have different technical writing documents. I can also share some, or I can also share some of the documents. So the most common ones, yes. So the most common ones are you have user manuals, you have installation guides, how-to guides and tutorials, technical reports, white papers, software documentation, process documentation, API documentation, and also training materials. So before even you start building a portfolio, you need to know which kind of documents you'll be working on. So for most technical writers, they usually start with the most basic ones, or the most common ones, which are how-to guides and tutorials, and also user manual. So the first step, then the second step, you need to identify the document, the type of document you are going to work with. So I usually advise all my mentees to choose the most common three ones: how-to guides. There's a fourth one, common one, called theory-based articles, which one those that not require any project. You are explaining the theoretical concept in a given tech field. So that is the second step. So after the second step, you can now go to the third step. So for the third step, for example, now you have chosen a how-to guide or tutorial. So that means you are going to implement a project in your article. So in the third step, now you have to come up with projects. So you need to identify projects in your field, and projects are nothing complex. Are actually anything using tech tech language, or a tech stack. I can show you some of the paid publications that accept technical writers, and you see this blog site is purely front end development, and you see the kind of articles that people are actually publishing here. They are nothing complex, are very simple projects that you can also add in your portfolio and also apply to this kind of companies. So you see, they are very straightforward ideas and projects between in the web development field. So we're in the third step, where you come up with projects. And I mentioned projects is nothing complex or difficult. Maybe you learned about a form, or maybe you learned about a CSS box model. That one can also be a good addition to your portfolio, because those are very simple ideas you can work on. I also share ideas on my Twitter account on the most common, maybe to start like a front. I usually share some of ideas for you to get started. Maybe I will share after this session. So like, for example, this one, maybe a CSS technical writer. These are projects that you can work on. For example, you have learned about media queries. You can actually transform this project into an article. So you have to come up with projects, and also you need to test these projects, because you are thinking as you're working for a company. A company won't accept an article that maybe has errors, or they do not provide the requested output, because they also have their own reviewers or tech review who usually review the code and ensure that actually the project works. So you also have to test it, and actually have to test it and ensure everything works. So that after the third step, we can now go to the fourth step. So for this the fourth step now, Now you have a tech background. You have identified the documents that you want to work with, and also you have come up with a couple of projects. Maybe you want to build a portfolio around certain articles. That's what I shall advise certain articles in your portfolio. So maybe you have come maybe learn CSS today, or maybe you have tested the project. So you want now to start writing about those projects. So we are in the fourth step. So for the fourth step, the first thing you think the first step is to come up with an outline for that project. For example, you have chosen this number one, understanding CSS media queries, as your first project you want to write on. So you can actually break these projects into manageable steps, like what is the first thing you did, then you can now go to the next step, you can now go to the next step. Like you're breaking the entire process into manageable steps, because the steps will enable you to actually write the draft for the article, because you'll have an overview of what the project is all about, and this will enable you to miss out on any on any information. So after coming up with the outline, you come up now with the draft. So for the draft, it is the entire article. The draft is just like the initial draft idea of the article, without any, like, you don't need to worry about the grammar or the syntax. So just writing the rough draft before now you go to the next step of now proofreading or editing the article. So those are the first four steps. And now the last step is now when now you publish the article. So I usually advise all my mentees to publish the articles on the most common platform like Medium. We also have Dev2, and also we have Ashnet. So these are the most common platform, and you can actually cross post the same article on the on this blog post. So I was just going through the process of coming up with their portfolio. So I can now share the next tip on how to identify projects that make you a standout technical writer. So I usually implement this strategy. So for example, now you are a developer. There are those like there are those common trending ideas in your field. So you can always choose those trending ideas in your field, because you see those trending ideas will make you like a standout writer. That means you know the common things that are maybe in your field. So this will enable you to come up with more diversified project ideas. So if you diversify your project, that means now you'll have a more standout portfolio that can actually enable you to land your gig. So as I mentioned during the start, we are targeting for you to have like 7 articles in your portfolio, so that will enable you now to show that you're actually a practical developer or a practical technical writer who has tested this project and actually knows what they're talking about. So if you diversify your project to have 7, that means you'll have a better chance of landing gigs as a technical writer. Another thing I can now go to, I was also sharing about how to come out with projects. So I usually use these platforms like Medium, because articles you have very very many common articles, and information is already there. So you're trying to find how to modify or make this information better and stand out as a writer. So I usually use these platforms to come up with ideas. So for example, for front end, you can see, if you just choose, you can see there are more than 42,000 K stories. So it means there are a lot of articles on front end. But that doesn't mean you can't publish the same article or implement in your own perspective, because technical writing now is like you are teaching people in your own perspective, or on how you solve a certain problem, or how you encountered a certain issue. So you can maybe come to these tags and find out projects or ideas that you love, or you find that you can actually implement. Then you can actually try them on your own, because I think if you just go through this article, you have learned something new. After you learn something new, you can now also implement it in your own way. So you see, for me, I followed these tags because I started out as maybe as a web developer, technical writer. So you see, I followed that. I followed these tags that now enables me to come up with more ideas, because as a technical writer. So let's, for example, you have been employed with seven companies at the same time, freelance, and maybe the company wants you like to send five article ideas maybe after maybe 1 month. So you see, in 1 month you need to have like 35 ideas. Yeah, you need to have like 35 ideas on standby. So what you usually do is to ensure you do your research. You come maybe use this. I usually use Medium, and also I usually use this platform also Dev2. If you just follow the right tags like JavaScript, you'll find ideas of articles, and you can actually modify them. You are not copy pasting, because you are allowed to borrow ideas. If you copy paste, maybe you'll raise the plagiarism detection, because companies usually run plagiarism detection. They may accept similar articles, but you now have to implement it in your own way, or how you solve a problem. Because as I mentioned, as a technical writer, you're a teacher. You're teaching people how to do a certain stuff or solve a certain problem in a certain tech field. So what you usually do is I come maybe through these platforms and feel like, for example, if I was looking for inspiration on DevOps, I could just look for ideas. Maybe someone is deploying something using a certain tool. I can now modify it and use a different tool and deploy the same project. So you're just like twisting and ensuring your standouts than the rest. So that is the one way of coming up with ideas. Another way is you as a developer, you already know the projects you've implemented. Yeah, maybe you're working as a front-end developer in your work. You have learned something new, and you have actually implemented it from start to finish. So that automatically you can turn it into an idea, and you can write it in your own perspective, or the way you think best suits your writing styles. I will talk more about writing styles. Maybe I think I have a slide here about organization and visual appeal. I'll share more information about that. But now I'm just sharing tips on how to come up with projects that can actually be beneficial. Because as I mentioned, technical writing is a huge field. We have very common articles, but you don't need to copy paste. You're just borrowing ideas and writing it in your own perspective. Another thing, I usually use YouTube when maybe I'm learning something, or I'm learning a new DevOps tool, or I'm learning a new skill. I can test that project and ensure it works. And now I can write that project according to my own logic, so that at least I stand out as a technical writer. We can move to the next part of presentation and best practices. So this is all about structuring a standard article, because I can, even if you go through all these companies that maybe hire technical writers, they usually have they usually have their own standard guideline that a person can actually follow. So that guideline will enable you to stand out as a technical writer, because you'll be following their guideline. But the guideline is maybe how to write the article, how to add headers, because some companies they have the writing styles of how to add headings. They also have writing styles on how to the length, the tone, like how to add screenshots and also how to add like code snippets. So you should always focus to have an article to be standardized as possible, so that at least when you're applying for a gig, the editor will review a portfolio and see actually the articles that you have in your portfolio are up to standard or follow the recommended guideline. Even though different companies have specific or minor alteration to the writing guidelines, you can always ensure you follow to the standard, because they will always have a standard way of writing. Because this is one guideline for this company, I can share another guideline for another company, even though. So they usually, the good thing about these companies is they usually share their guidelines with you, so you won't uh, you won't like need to worry about how to format the articles. Because for example, now if you go through this guideline, they will tell you how to write. So it is always good practice that even though they are given in the guideline, you have at least to follow the required guideline when coming up with your portfolio. Like a standard article automatically should have 1,500 and 2,000 words. So when you're coming up with a portfolio, ensure your article ranges between there, because maybe if you have short articles in your portfolio, you'll be overlooked than maybe a person who has longer article, because maybe the reviewer will assume that your article is not detailed and you don't know what you're talking about, and you're not actually an experienced developer slash technical writer. So you should always strive to have your articles to be within 1,500 words, because even you see this company, they are saying it should be 1,000 to 1,500 words. Also, this company, I don't know if they've said about the number of words, but they're supposed to have the number of words. So at least you ensure that you use. Also, another thing you can use is these tools like Grammarly for ensuring that your work has a lot of. If your article has a lot of error, you can use tools like Grammarly to ensure that your article is up to standard and ensure it doesn't have grammatical errors. Because some companies, when you have your article has a lot of grammatical errors, they will just turn your work, and maybe you may be removed from the publishing queue. So you always have like to ensure it is good practice as you're building a portfolio. You have just to ensure you know the practice of always passing your article through Grammarly to ensure that it's up to standard. That's why in the fourth step, I shared the last thing about proofreading, fine tuning, and editing, so that I ensure your article is up to standard. You have removed all the errors. Removed all the. You have removed like you are using the right tone, because also the companies also share about the tone of how to use the right tone, active tone, the active voices, and also the tone for how to use like friendly but formal. So Grammarly, I think, is a tool that can enable you to do that. Even the free version, I think it has a way of make sure that your article is clear enough, so that at least you don't have uh, you don't have a lot of errors in your article. So you see that you can always use Grammarly to ensure that your article is up to standard. Another thing, so another thing is about Markdown, because these companies usually require you to learn Markdown on how to format these articles. So you have to use Markdown. The same for, even I think Dev2, you always write on Markdown, because even if you're creating a new post, you have to use Markdown to ensure that your article is up to standard, because Markdown enables for browser to actually render your article correctly. So another thing when building a portfolio, ensure you learn Markdown. Another thing you can master is SEO, search engine optimization, because I think some companies always look for search engine optimization, so at least so that the articles become more searchable on the internet. Because you see all these companies that you are applying to, when you have a portfolio, they're actually selling something on their blog site. So you see they want you to they want the article to use them as to drive traffic to maybe to their products and maybe generate leads. So they want articles that actually be visible on Google so that they can also generate more leads for their blog site. All these companies, they are selling something, and now they depend on your articles to drive traffic. So you should always like also master search engine optimization, even for your articles. Also, another thing I can share is publishing these articles on just if you just publish these articles on these platforms, like if you publish on Dev2 and also Medium, you can just like land gigs by just if you just ensure your article is up to standard and is searchable, and recruiters can actually reach out to you, because I think I got some few inboxes about the same. So you should always ensure your article is up to standard. I don't know if I can find. So you see, like you always like you see if you just if you have a good article. See, this person said, I found you on Medium and asked if they're looking for new writers, because I always ensure my articles are to standard, even though even if I am publishing this article for free on these developer platforms, and I don't expect any pay because this platform doesn't pay. Medium doesn't pay, Dev2 doesn't pay. Medium pays, but I don't think if it is available in Kenya. So even if you're just publishing this article, you're just like exposing yourself to potential employees automatically. Even if you don't apply, you don't know who is reading your articles. Because I got this role on, I think, on Jan, and also I got another one, I think, yesterday on LinkedIn, because of just like publishing these articles here and there, ensuring that your articles are up to standard. You are building search engine optimization tools to ensure that your article follow the right guideline. You're ensuring that the article has the structure, an introduction, a body, a conclusion, a summary. So you see, those are the nitty gritties of article writing, to ensure that always when you are writing your article, ensure you follow these guidelines so that at least you don't miss out on opportunities that can be out there. Because you see, organization is important. Organizing your article is very important, because you should be thinking about that beginner developer who is wanting to learn something. Because as I mentioned, technical writing, you are a teacher, so you are teaching something. You are teaching someone something using a text tool, a tech stack. So you should always organize your article in a very easy and digestible way, ensuring that it has all the steps. You have explained everything clearly. You have tested out your projects and added screenshots and outputs, and ensuring that your article showcases your best project, so that at least you don't miss out on these opportunities that can be there without even your knowledge, because your work is just out there. People are reading, and maybe they are finding it interesting. Because I think there was also a person who was just writing on. She wrote an article on about this tool in her portfolio. I was working with her, I think, last week. She was writing about this tool called Upright, and she was actually reached out by one of the, I think, DevRel for this company, because I think she had written about that tool in a better way and explained a lot about it. So she was given some gigs to manage their docs. So that's why you always like ensure that your article your article is up to standard and follows the right guideline. So that also that is why I had made this part about content selection strategy. So, for example, maybe you are a front end. That person that I was working on is a front end. So she was writing about maybe these tools for building applications, front end development, and also back end. So you can choose this. You can use choose these companies that have products and write about them. So if you write this about these articles that are very specific tools and now publish them on your blog site, you can see like other people may find it and you can get referred to gigs by just writing about these specific tools. That's why content selection is a very important as a technical writer when you're building your portfolio. Don't just focus on as much you want to focus on those beginner friendly topics or beginner friendly projects that can help intermediates. There's some other advanced topics you can focus on, like specific tools like upright. There's also this tool called, some people is writing about this tool called, and actually got also a gig. So you see there are very many tools that you can write about them. And if you write about this tool and telling people how to how to use them, you see like you'll be getting potential employees to view your work and reach you on Medium, because I've shown you someone reached me because they found me on Medium by just publishing, and I never applied anywhere. I was just reached out by this person because you know there are many tech blogs or tech companies which want maybe for you to revambish their works, and now they don't have immediately writers, so the first thing they go is through this blog site, dev2 media, and see those trending work. Because if you publish your work well enough, dev2 will show your work as a top article. So if it becomes a top article and that person reads it and finds it to be beneficial, you will just they'll just reach out to you and maybe want you to write the article about it. So that's why it's always important to choose a diversified project. Also for Ashnode, you can see if you just go through your feed, they'll just go through the feeds and actually want to hire you. I can show you another case scenario for LinkedIn. I think that person, I think it was yesterday or I don't know. A person just reaches out to you and just maybe wants you to write for them. Yes, you see this person. This I would love to know if you are interested in writing about ML ops and Kubernetes. Okay, another thing I forgot. I wanted to share about another thing. Another thing is leveraging social media. Even though you are building a portfolio, you should always like tell people what you are doing. You should always like leverage. You should always like leverage your portfolio. So I usually leverage LinkedIn. So you see this person reached me on LinkedIn because I think he's a founding member. I don't know what, or a founder of this company. Also, this one is a co-founder of this Be Omniscient. So you see, like founders and co-founders are always like going through Twitter feeds. They're also going through Medium, Hashnote. So you see, they actually reach out if you find like the article is beneficial to them. So I wanted to share about leveraging social media. Yes, yeah. So you see, like your online presence is very important as a technical writer. In as much as you are building your portfolio on Medium or Hashnode, you should always like sharing information on what you are doing, the tools you are doing, because you can also like actually learn. Because if maybe you focus on front end and you are writing good articles on front end, you may not learn a technical writing gig, but you can also learn a front end role because maybe you explained you explain well some concept. Because as I mentioned, these two fields complement each other. Yeah, these two fields complement each other. Actually, you can use technical writing as a way to document your coding journey to ensure when you learn something new, you can document it and write about it. So you are seeing like you are learning it, sharing information about it. So an online presence is always good. So you see like engaging on this online community, like for example, all of you have joined here, this community, like this forum for like the doc. So you see, you're actually learning something new, and maybe you're also building your network, and you're getting tips that can actually improve you as a technical writer. Yeah, you see, like maybe you have learned something here, you're going to implement it in your own technical writing journey, and in a few weeks or in a few months, you see you're getting like inboxes. Maybe someone is offering you a gig, someone is offering you a role as maybe a front end developer or a role as a DevOps engineer because you write about DevOps. So you see, technical writing is also a best strategy for you to break into your tech field and ensure it is actually beneficial to you. So generally, this talks about maybe those platforms that I'm saying, Twitter, LinkedIn. So you should always have a profile to showcase your work. Okay, another thing is this called open source project. Some people contribute to open source project on about technical writing. You can always contribute to documents. Like for example, you have a document, you contribute to them, and maybe it becomes beneficial, and you actually get roles because you contributed to them. I can click a few more here to see if there's something I've missed out. I've talked about, I think, all this. Okay, we can move to the next. So we have talked about importance, content selection strategies, presentation and best practices, how to ensure your articles are always up to standard, and importance in the job market. So I've said about the importance in the job market. It enables you to build trust with employers because as you are publishing articles, they actually know that you're a good writer. You're a good writer in that field, and your work can be beneficial to their blog site. So you're building trust, you're building evidence, and you're always building in public. So you always like share information on Twitter, LinkedIn, so that at least you have an added advantage in the job market. Okay, I can also talk about like I can emphasize on role in the hiring decision making. Like for this company that I got a role, I went through an extensive writing test. So even though they have actually like they have given you an advantage and you have they have reached out to you, so you may think that automatically you have the role, but also they have like because this person is a co-founder, she has also have to also to consult other team members maybe in a department or in a company. So always they'll go to the HR and also the editor, but you already have some points because you didn't apply for the role. You already have some points because it's just like a referral. So now they have seen your work and it is actually good enough and they have reached out to you. So now it is now your job to convince them that actually this is my work and I did them on myself. Maybe you didn't rely on other tools like AI tools to generate content. That actually you know what you are doing and you are writing it in expertise. So if you have a good portfolio, they will give you the role without even taking a lot of deliberation because you have actually convinced them that you are the right person, for the job. I can maybe ask you maybe to some questions so that at least you can ask some questions so at least I can maybe build from there and offer more tips that may be required.
So, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. We can unmute you. Also, there's a chat box next to just on the call there. You can just type in your question and then we can react to it. So anyone with a question? So Samuel, go ahead.
So hello everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
So my question was, if you had to choose between coding and writing, which way would you go?
Okay, I can answer that question. So as I've mentioned, this field you don't need to choose like one or the other. As I've mentioned, these fields are actually complementing each other. Like you can start on that coding and also like use technical writing because I know what maybe beginner, maybe coders maybe struggle is maybe like starting to earn a little bit cash as they are starting. So you can use like technical writing to motivate you maybe to earn a little cash. And in that process, you also will be learning in the in the in the process. So it is not like you're choosing one or the other. You can actually do both because they are complementing fields. Yeah. I think that one answers your question. Or
Yes, yes.
So we have a question in the chat. Fatma is asking that it appears that there is a specialization in tech writing. Can you speak more about that specialization in technical writing? Also, what about negotiation and selling in case you do not get a referral?
okay, I can start by answering the first question for Fatma. So specialization about technical writing is all about the field that you are in. So if you are in web development, you become a web dev technical writer. That is because you'll be writing about web development stacks, maybe React, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Because companies also hire writers depending on your specific field. So you may find that a blog site, like for example, this blog site that I was sharing, am I still present? Let me present again. Hope you can see my screen. So I was saying, like for example, this company specializes only on front-end web developers. So you can now like specialization is nothing complex. It's just like what you are doing now, you can start writing about it because there are different companies that hire a wide variety of technical writers depending on the topics that you're specialized in. So that is all about specialization. So I can also add about what about negotiating and selling in case you do not get a referral? So there are, I can say there are three there are, there are two ways maybe of getting gigs. The first one that I've said is that one about referrals, maybe where you publish your articles and you get like gigs after maybe you've gotten a referral. Another way is now you apply to this blog site because all these blog sites they have like a form for you to submit an idea. Like for example, this one when you apply to this one, they will send you a form for you to apply, and actually they have like a fixed way of a fixed dollars for each article. This company pays $200 per article, and this company pays $400. So that means automatically, if you apply and your work is accepted, that means by the end of when the article is published, you automatically have $200 or $400. So because you have applied to them. So I think that one answers that question.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
can
There's a hand raised by Franklin Gift. Franklin, you can go ahead ask your question. Also, as Franklin is asking the question, uh, Charlene has said that the session was very informative. Thank you, Charlene. So back to you, Franklin. Franklin, go ahead. Oh, mic issues. Uh, you can just type your question. Gilbert, you also have a question. You can go ahead.
Yes, hello, Bravin. Thank you for the great insights. My only question is, before you normally indulge in probably writing an article, what do you normally read? Is it just enough for you to just read Medium and Dev2, or do you normally research on the topic by basically reading on other blogs or probably a book? Yeah, that's actually my question.
Okay, so as I mentioned, there are maybe 3 to 4 ways of coming up with project ideas. So for me, I'm a DevOps engineer. So that means I've actually implemented some projects in production, and I've also done some personal projects. So the first thing I usually do, I usually take those projects that I've actually learned and implemented and tested, and actually transform them into articles. If you decide to use the second approach of using the platform like Medium and other blogging platforms, that means you actually you can take like a very complex project that you haven't actually read or understand, you haven't had before. You take like medium projects that you can actually understand, even if it takes like 2 to 3 days to debug, it can actually work. So you have the first step, you have actually to develop the entire project. So don't choose complex project that can actually be take a lot of time for you to debug. You can also you always refer to YouTube, because maybe when I've gotten an idea but I can't maybe find a way or figure out how to solve it. I can always refer to YouTube to ensure me to grasp the concept. So I use Medium, and I also use YouTube to ensure that my concept I've actually understood.
We have another question from before Franklin you ask your question. I hope Gilbert you've been answered.
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Then we have a question from Joel Nyangesa is asking, with research, can I write about topics I'm not proficient or familiar with?
Okay, so that can be tricky, because it is possible, but that now depends on the different types of documentation. Like for example, there are these articles like theoretical articles that I usually write about. That article you can write even if you are in which field, because that depends on your research. Maybe someone wants you to write like 10 best tools for web development, or top 10 web development frameworks. You see, that one you can write about by doing research. But now when it comes now to those complex projects, even though those complex projects are now that are high paying, so that one actually you need to know that field, because if you're a web developer, you cannot write about Android, because you need now to learn about Android from start, and actually grab some few concept in Android, and maybe implement a few few projects. So if you want the approach of the how-to guides and tutorials, that one you have to master projects. But for the simple based articles, anyone can write that. Even though they are not high paying, you can get paid $50, $100, $60. Maximum you can get $200. Because I know some people I'm working with that decide actually to specialize on that kind of writing. I usually help them to build a portfolio around that area of specialization, and now we apply with some gigs around that. It is very beginner friendly, but also it is high competing, because maybe some people want to start with that and go to the other complex one, but it's actually very possible.
Thank you for that. Franklin, you can ask a question.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yeah.
So my question would be, in terms of uniqueness. Let's say I caught something of the sorts that when you're writing a blog, when you're writing yeah an article, you should check out if it has already been written. So if that then brings about a bottleneck. So if you keep on finding that there are no unique articles you can write, does that stop you, or what should you do? Should you just proceed to write and build a portfolio out of it, or okay, what is the step from there?
Okay, I can answer that question. So, as I mentioned, I was beginning, I said, technical writing now, these documents are out there. They are very common documents. But now, what makes it unique is your own approach, because some people want the editors. Actually, I've worked with several editors. They are saying even though you are taking other people's work or you are borrowing ideas, what they want is your own approach on how you actually implemented that project. So you can take like some project that is maybe common and now tweak it according to your own understanding. You can add some few tools, maybe even if maybe for example they are using React, you can now use like Vue.js. So that one, try to differentiate it to make it your the best approach and make it unique in your own way. That one will just count as an article in your portfolio. You just have to make it unique, even though they are common. The only thing that people usually make mistake is copying and pasting the entire article, then editing. So you don't need to do that. You just have to read it and understand in your own way. Then from there, now you can implement it accordingly. Don't copy and paste.
Franklin, I hope you've been answered well.
Yeah, thank you.
So we have another question from Mary Wambui. Mary, you can go ahead and mute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. My question is, for instance, I'm writing maybe article on how to guide them tutorials based on maybe projects that I've done. Now, how will maybe specific tools, like company products, how can I write articles that like they are how can I say it? Like you're writing a guide and like a guide, then how can you write about a product of a certain company yet it's a tutorial?
Okay, so I think I shared some approach. Like for example, there's a person who was writing about upright. Like upright maybe is a very complex, not necessarily complex, but it has a different functionalities. So you can actually look for one functionality that you can integrate in your project. Like for example, upright is used to scale an open source platform for building application at any scale using your preferred programming language and tool. So you see, it is you have now to research on that tool and see how you can uh, you can integrate it in your project and test it. So you have to actually test it and ensure that it actually works in your project and follows your case scenario or use cases that you have chosen for your article.
Mary, have you been answered well?
Yeah, thank you.
We have another question from. Let's start with Joe Okumu first, then Patrick. So Joe, you can unmute yourself and then raise your hand. And you can unmute yourself and then ask your question.
Everyone, hello.
Yeah, hello. You can
I'm
hear me.
into development. Specifically backend development, and I want platforms can I do technical writing for my backend development content.
I didn't get it. Can you kindly repeat?
I'm saying I'm new to backend development, and I wanted to start doing technical writing. So I wanted to know which platforms, if you know any, that I can use for my backend development content.
Okay, so have you started like writing articles, or in which stage are you? Because I shared the 5 steps, so I don't know in which step you have reached.
I've started writing in Medium and Hashnode.
So how many articles have you
Yeah,
written?
that's where I've started from.
So I
Like
think
two so far.
2 articles. So as I mentioned, you need at least 7.
Yeah.
So that is the standard. So I think I can add the 6th step from all that process. The 6th step now, which is now the most important one, now is applying for gigs. So there are different companies that hire backend developers depending on what you write, the tech stack. So I can share maybe after the end of the session for some of the companies maybe that they hire technical writers in your backend. But as mentioned, you need at least 7 articles in your portfolio so that at least you become a standout writer and have a competitive edge in the job market. That's all I can share.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have another question from Patrick.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, my question is, I mean, the focus on AI on technical writing. What is the impact of AI in technical writing, or how to leverage on it? Then the second question is, I've seen in most of the presentation that Bravin has done. The focus has been more on maybe web, dev. So maybe you can enlighten us more on other tech stack. Which platforms do you use? Because I can see most of the uh, articles published on Ashnode and the other blogs that you shared are focusing more on devs. Maybe can address that.
I can ask you which field are you currently in?
I'm in networking. I think I've been communicating with you via Twitter for some time.
I can check. Okay. I remember. So about networking. So I can answer. You have asked 2 questions about AI and maybe other platforms. So about AI, so it depends with the company. So what I can advise you is don't generate your article on using ChatGPT. Don't generate your article depending on ChatGPT. What you can use AI tools is like just to come up with outlines, because there's a step I mentioned about coming up with outlines. So you can always use ChatGPT to come up with outline. I also help my mentees on how to come up with better outlines, because the outline should be up to standard and give an overview of the entire article. So don't over rely on AI, because some companies they have zero tolerance to AI. Other companies also, they allow you to leverage but don't to exactly copy the entire article. So don't over rely on AI. Just use ChatGPT to come up with better outlines. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
So I said, you write it in your own personal experience and don't over rely on AI. So you can use like 5% to generate maybe the formatting and maybe to generate the outline, but don't generate, because you are writing it, because if you are chosen a project, you're writing it according to the way you implemented it. So don't rely on AI. The question you have asked about a field. So technical writing, you see, it is a huge field. There's that for tech, and also networking is part of tech because you can write about networking. If I can still present, I think even Medium allows publication of networking articles, and also there are other companies that hire networking technical writers. So it is how to find those maybe those companies that is usually maybe complex or daunting for some writers. But I usually help all my mentees to find like maybe those companies that maybe you can apply and get some gigs. But for Medium, if I don't know if I can share, I can still share my screen. Let me try to share again. So on Medium here, you can see I followed actually a lot of tags. The only thing that maybe I've not followed for networking, but you see there are data science, you can see there are also for data science, there are also some companies that hire data science technical writers. So even the planning. So you see the articles everywhere in every company, and you can actually find these companies that hire writers because even though for me I started out as maybe a machine learning engineer before I shifted to DevOps, but actually it works no matter which field, be it networking, be it AI, be it DevOps, backend. I was using front end because now that is the most common scenario that people can maybe understand or personalize it because maybe some people have started by learning front end, but you can actually apply from in any field that you are. If
I
I've
hope,
answered the question.
yeah. I hope you have clearly answered that question. We have another question from Tech Newman.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, I need to ask, just the same way you have certain quality of projects for developers or type of projects the developer has to put in his portfolio. Do you have that likewise for technical writing to like land a, an employer or a potential client?
Okay, so I can answer this question this way. So you see, like technical writing depends on blogs because there are some blogs that maybe they are looking for beginner content. There are some blogs looking for intermediate, and there are also for advanced. So what I usually advise people is you can now try to integrate or diversify your portfolio to have both beginner, advanced, and also complex. So at least this means you can apply to different companies. You can apply to both those beginner friendly. So it doesn't matter the project that you're implementing because as I mentioned, it covers all the all the levels of maybe technical writing because people are there are some people who are maybe interested in that basic stuff because now maybe they're just getting started with the field. Some people are interested in those advanced maybe because they're in a different level. So it all depends on the level, and actually companies hire all levels of technical writers.
Okay, and sorry, one more thing. Where like are there platforms or websites where you can meet that bring both writers and potential clients or employers, like a meeting point there?
Okay, so there's some platform like I think there's the Write the Docs, the main platform. Not this Write the Docs, the Write for Kenya, but we have the other Write the Docs. They have a Slack channel where you can join and they usually share opportunities. You can share. You can also network on Twitter because I think always some technical writers usually share content on Twitter. We also have some platform that has been created that has gigs for you to apply. So there's a lot of resources that you can actually find, and I think Docs also Docs Kenya has a platform for where people can apply for gigs. They usually share gigs regularly where you can now apply also.
I hope that has answered your question. We have some
Yes,
questions in
thank
the
you very
chat
much.
here. Also, you can follow the Docs Kenya on our Twitter page. We also have an open blog on Notion. We also have an open blog whereby we allow contributors to contribute your blogs to our channel. A question to you, Bravin. How about applying technical writing jobs on Upwork?
Pardon, can you repeat?
So the question is
the last part. How about applying the writing jobs on Upwork? So
Yeah.
Upwork, I've never actually tried it because I think it is usually a very complex process. You need to have like your account to be verified, to have reviews, and actually that can take a lot of effort. But as a technical writer, but this approach that I'm sharing, this is the best approach because you have control on what you add in your portfolio. So you can actually land gigs easily because you can write any complex project that you want in a portfolio you want to stand out. But for the Upwork now, it depends on the bidding strategy. It is a very hectic process. But there are some people who have actually mastered the art of Upwork. But for me, I can't advise because I haven't tried myself. But that is my own opinion. Okay.
Fatima is also asking, any other type of writing, especially API writing? I think we've talked about that. Anyone with a question or a suggestion? We also take compliments. If the session has been good, you can also raise your hand and say it has been good. Yeah. Anyone with anything to add on before we wind up the session? Samuel, go ahead. Samuel, you can unmute yourself. Samuel Njuguna, you can unmute yourself and.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I have a question. Like currently, as per now, I've received a job invitation in LinkedIn, but how do you go about it? Because this client has just asked me for my pieces for my articles, but currently I merely have around 10 of them. So how do you go about them to make sure that the client that you keep the client?
Said you have how many articles in your portfolio currently? Samuel, how many articles do you have currently in your portfolio?
10.
10. Is it the free blogging platform, and also is it free blogging platform or other client works?
Medium.
On Medium. So I think Medium is okay because I also landed a client from Medium by just publishing there. It's just okay. Just share your portfolio and then share your portfolio because Medium is actually a good platform. You can actually land gigs by just publishing there. So ensure you share your portfolio, and actually, if it is more dev related, you can actually share your projects. And as a developer, yeah, so that one will make you stand a higher chance.
Bobo.
Yeah, okay. I have a question to Bravin concerning Medium platform. Which platform is better, the paid version or the free version?
Okay, as you're starting out as a technical writer or in any field, just use the free version of everything. As you go, maybe you can now scale, but free version works just fine. So don't start by incurring maybe monthly bills that isn't very necessary. So you can just like focus now on the free version, and actually it will work. It will work out.
Okay, thank you. And maybe on LinkedIn, which one is your handle?
Share, let me share here on my chat my social media, both Medium, both LinkedIn, and I think and also Twitter. So this is for the LinkedIn.
Bro, can you get to?
Even someone you can share yours.
So that is for LinkedIn.
Also, where
You
inside
can
is
also
inside.
share for
There's John was unmuted his chat. Hello.
Shinorem. So I've shared both my Twitter and the LinkedIn platform here on the chat, so you can have access.
Chinonyerem. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Okay. When you're not talking, you can unmute your mic. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
You have a question?
No, I don't have a question. No.
Okay, that's fine. Anyone with a question? I think Samuel, you have asked your question, and that is Bobo. You have also asked your question. Anyone else with something to contribute? So Bravin has shared his LinkedIn and Twitter. So for Write the Docs community, you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and on our WhatsApp group chat. I'll be sharing those links in a moment. As I think Samuel has another question. Go ahead, Samuel.